We're live. Namaste. Welcome to the Cārvāka podcast. So, before we get on with things, I would like to first wish everyone a very happy Independence Day. Swatantrata Divas ki sabko shubhkamnaएं. And, it's the Independence Day. So, I was like, what should I talk about? So, I decided that, on Independence Day, everybody, they like to show how patriotic they are, how much they love their country. Well, I decided I'll do something else. I decided we'll have a laugh. Let's laugh a bit. So then I was like, who do I talk to? Who do I talk to? And I thought, when we go on Twitter, right? Which was the best handle that you would go to? And I thought the best handle when we used to go on Twitter was the Unreal Times. Like you could be down and out. You could be angry at Modi. You could be angry at Rahul Gandhi. Arvind Kejriwal must be doing something extremely annoying. But then you would go and just read the Unreal Times handle and you would be extremely happy. So I asked Ashwin that, hey, Ashwin, would you like to talk to me? And he was like, hey, man, why not? So Ashwin, welcome to the podcast and thanks a lot for doing this, brother.
Thank you very much, Kushal. It's a great privilege and honor to be here. I'm blessed. And yeah, a very happy Independence Day to all the viewers out there. And yeah, hope you had a great day.
Yeah, Ashwin, obviously, we cannot have a podcast with you without discussing the sad incident that happened today. I know you are very disturbed and you are very down for the fact that your true inspiration and the real reason Unreal Times existed ever was because of the Ashutosh. So how do you feel that Ashutosh ji has left Aam Aadmi Party?
Yeah, it is as shocking as it can get. It's heartbreaking. And I only have one thing to say. Rather one thing to ask about this. Will the Modi answer?
So I don't know if the Modi will answer, but I think, Unreal Times now has to do a small sketch. So this is my request to you and Karthik. You guys have to do a sketch, a small post, and then Unreal Times can go off again. You guys can go offline again. But you have to do a script where Ashutosh has declared his resignation, and how does all of the Aam Aadmi Party and Modi and Congress Party react to that. So that's my personal request. I did not tell you that offline because I knew I wanted to catch you when you were live. Now you can't say no.
Challenge accepted. Sure.
Yeah. So everybody who's watching this, thank me later because I have forced Unreal Times at least temporarily to come back on and give a satirical take on this thing. So obviously, first things first. I did not know about this hashtag Javdekar for PM. Can you explain that hashtag to me and to everybody who's going to be watching this live? What the hell is Javdekar for PM?
What's there to explain? He is awesome. He deserves to be the PM, right? No, so that's basically just a gentle trolling of the right wing because Prakash Javdekar, in my opinion, and in the opinion of quite a few others whom I know, he happens to be everything the right wing doesn't want in a politician. So that's the reason. So whenever I say Javdekar for PM, it just irritates a few right wingers there. That's all. Nothing more to it.
When you're on Twitter, you'll never be surprised. There might be a few people who might buy your concept of Javdekar for PM and they might get serious. And now you
that would be awesome.
Yeah, I can actually imagine Javdekar as a PM. We could get into the horrors of what BJP can do. So, it's never off the limits. Yeah, why not? So now my first question, official question of the podcast is, there might be a lot of people who actually may not know a bit about you. So my first question to you, is that, first things first, tell the listeners a bit about viewers. Sorry, I'm used to the audio podcast. Tell the viewers a bit about yourself now.
Okay. So this is where it gets a bit like a job interview, but it's fine. So my name is Ashwin. I was writing for the Unreal Times. I guess whoever is tuned in here would have heard of the Unreal Times. I presume that. So I was writing for the Unreal Times from 2012 until 2016 when it shut down, and I had a great time writing for that. Thanks to the affection from many of you readers out there. And yeah, so writing humor and parody specifically was something I used to enjoy a lot, and something that I still enjoy. I do try to come up with something whenever I can. Apart from that, yeah, so I work as a software engineer by day, and yeah, apart from writing, music is something I'm quite passionate about. So I kind of know to play a little bit of keyboard and melodica, and apart from that, there's also a little bit of mimicry which I like to do. And yeah, that's about it, I guess. Do people want to know anything more about me? I don't know.
So when you do the mimicry thing, I know you mimic Rajnikant very well. So who are your...
Not Rajnikant. It was, I mean, the video I had done was people reacting to Rajnikant's political announcement. Yeah. So it was a bunch of people, some cricketers, some media persons, some Bollywood singers, and so on, and politicians, of course.
So speaking about politicians, now let's get on with the serious stuff. So what do you think is the state of satire or humor in India as it stands today from your point of view, as someone who is a satirist, who looks at things and finds the funny in them and then goes forward and talks about it, writes about it. Obviously you are someone who is more in the parody and the satire, where you write things down. You have stand-up comedy on the other side too, but when you look at it from a satirist's point of view, how do you think is the state of affairs today in India? Would you say, when I say how is the state of affairs, I mean in the English variety, the Hindi, English, urban-centric department, not the regional humor. I mean, I know that is booming in India, and that's a separate segment. But I'm talking about the more English, Hindi kind of a thing, the urban ones.
Okay, not so good at the moment. In my opinion, the best of Indian satire on the web was around the 2014 elections. I think everyone who tried parody and satire at that time was at their peak, be it the Unreal Times or even Faking News or any of the other websites that used to do satire over there. But what I find now is it's kind of dying because there's hardly any source of Indian political satire, or for that matter, just general satire on everyday life or movies or cricket or anything of the sort. There's hardly any source, a constant source of good satire around as of now. I think Faking News is still on, but I mean, I'm not sure how they're doing right now because I don't follow them much these days. But again, they are a source which has been around for quite a few years now. And apart from that, most of the satire, or should I say parody, has shifted to other formats. Like you said, stand-up comedy is one. I see a lot of stand-up comedians, even though I don't follow stand-up comedy at all. I see quite a few of them at least tweeting out, political opinions and things like that. So my main concern is that the written satire or, other things like, comics and things like that, those are actually dying down. We only see very, what is the word I should use? Very small content these days, in the sense it's just one-liners, or it's as concise as possible. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. The humor these days is as concise as possible. You either just have one-liners as tweets, or you have some memes all over, or it's just there are a few jokes which people do as a part of their stand-up comic acts or whatever. So yeah, all that is fine. But my main the main thing I'm kind of sad about is that there is a total paucity, almost a total paucity of written satire on the net today, at least as far as Indian politics or just anything Indian for that matter is concerned. There's a paucity of written satire on the net.
Now, why do you think that has happened? Like I'll give you my assessment of it. So I actually got on Twitter because of satire. So I literally went on Twitter because some of my friends said, "Oh, you got to go on this platform called Twitter. There are some really funny people who write funny things, and you just read them and you laugh at them." Now, I hate the classifications of the left wing and right wing, because I don't think so India necessarily has a right wing. Right wing. India has different shades of left. So even within even within the different shades of left, where we have one shade that calls itself right wing, previously, I'm saying, actually after 2014 this change has happened. Every single satirist has become, or even the funny guy has become less funny day by day, or the funny ones have stopped completely. Like, Unreal Times has stopped completely now. But even the stand-up comics who are writing on Twitter nowadays, it's less comedy and more, देखो मोदी क्या कर रहा है. It's like they have become political. I thought the comics or the satirist job was always to find the funny element and talk about it, and it's very tribal. But why do you think it has degenerated into that? Like, I don't have any great answer to that myself. As someone who consumes so much humor, I don't get it. What are your views? Why has this degeneration happened?
I think it's mainly because Twitter itself, I mean, let's go back a few years. So prior to 2014, there was just one side that was utilizing Twitter to its fullest, right? The so-called left wing of today was virtually absent, at least in my opinion, on Twitter prior to 2014.
Yes.
My opinion is that they kind of realized the power of social media once they took a beating in 2014. And they said, we have to get back on this somehow. I think that's what they would have thought. And now they've pretty much come back with a vengeance, surely. They want to get it. I mean, it's quite obvious that they want Modi defeated at any cost in 2019, right? So they're doing everything they can on social media to, try and sway people towards the Congress or opposition, or not just the Congress, the opposition parties, anyone against Modi, basically. So right now it has become a sort of a slugfest, basically. So everyone, I mean, it's mostly the atmosphere, I would say. In 2004, not forget 2014, let's say 2012, 2013, it was, of course, you did have very passionate Modi supporters who were, very aggressive on Twitter before 2014. But there were quite a few people who just enjoyed simple humor. But now what has happened is everyone these days, it's due to the heated atmosphere, everyone gets caught in this heated atmosphere, and they feel like defending their party all the time, or bringing the other side down all the time. That's what it's become right now. It's about defending a side, either defending a side vehemently or bringing the other side down all the time. There is no timeout or anything like that, just to pause and relax and enjoy a joke.
Or maybe because Rahul Gandhi has taken up the mantle of cracking all the jokes in the country.
Yeah, probably.
Rahul Gandhi decided, you guys are making too many jokes. You are cracking too many jokes. I want that. So he took it all, and we are now fighting like cats and dogs. But on a very serious note, it's actually sad. You said something very nice there, that you said, nobody's taking a time out.
Exactly.
Constant dopamine rush. Look, I put him down. Look, he blocked me. I was like,
yes.
No, I never got this. Why is somebody blocking you a badge of honor in life? It's like, ex journalist blocked me. Now I have arrived. Really, your life is that meaningless? That's all your life is about? A journalist blocking you? I mean,
I think I might have tweeted something. Let me just go back and delete some tweets like that. If I've tweeted, I might have tweeted something like that. No, I don't think so.
So I mean, I don't know. I again, maybe I am different. Like, I really miss humor on Twitter. Like, every once in a while, I will actually troll Rahul Roshan and, Bhaksala. I'll be like, yeah, go back to your old satire self. You guys were so nice. And it's like Rahul has completely forgotten humor. So, I take this opportunity to troll Rahul Roshan via your podcast. It's like, this is my standing request to Rahul. Go back to your old satirical self. You were so funny. I don't know. I miss it. So, anyways, now
I think it all began with Kumkum Bhagya. He was very addicted to Kumkum Bhagya, and he got carried away from satire, I think.
Yeah, I think we need to get him back to the old, Hindi soaps.
Sure.
Rahul misses that. But no, this is one question I wanted to ask you. Okay, let's say even pre 2014 or post 2014, because you are right. It is sort of an era in Indian satire. Pre 2014 satire was something.
Yes.
Now it's something. But when satire was alive and kicking, what do you think was the reception for lack of words, the non-left satirist within the family of satirists in India? What do you think was what I'm trying to say is what we know there is a left wing in India. What opposes them, we don't know what they are. We for the lack of label, we always keep saying we are the non-left of India. So we are not with the left, but we are something. So we are a loosely bandied, group of people that just don't like the left and don't like authoritarianism of some sort or the other. Now, what do you think but obviously when you're talking about satire, you're going to have people who are satirists and who are left leaning too. So and they are far more in number technically. At least in the stand-up comedy scene, there is like a complete lopsided scenario where when it comes to left wingers, like they dominate the stand-up comedy scene.
Right.
Now, what do you think is the treatment within the group? That's what I wanted to know.
Within the group, in the sense, so oops, I can hear my own voice, I think. No? Okay.
Yeah.
No, I just didn't get your question. So within the group, in the sense, you're saying the equation we have with each other, this
Yes,
group of...
Yes. So how would they treat you? Say, they know you're definitely not a left winger. So how...
I first of all, I doubt they even know my existence. So that itself is something I don't know. So, but here's the thing. So as far as the Unreal Times goes, okay, so I think quite a few of them knew the Unreal Times. There were basically prior to 2014, I did see, I think, a few stand-up comics retweeting some of our articles and all that. So I presume they enjoyed those. But I think post 2014, most of them hardly ever talked about us. That was one thing. And even if they did, it was mostly the usual accusation that, okay, we are a part of the RSS factory and we are Modi bucks and things like that. So it was mostly that. It's almost like a mutually exclusive thing. There's hardly any interaction between left-wing satirists and the so-called, okay, if people call me a right-wing satirist, even though I don't know what I am, so yeah. Some people call me that. So there's hardly any interaction between the two sides, as far as I know. Of course, on this side, if you consider me as a right-wing satirist again, yeah, I am on good terms with Rahul and most of the others who all are there. Who else was writing satire on the right wing? Yeah, of course, Karthik and all the URT columnists, whoever wrote for the Unreal Times. But even on the left wing, again, there were a couple of people who wrote for the Unreal Times themselves, a couple of columnists who weren't necessarily, accused as right wing. There was this columnist who wrote under the pseudonym Watho, Watho.
Okay.
Yeah, he wasn't necessarily a right wing satirist. He wrote quite a few articles properly criticizing the BJP and the RSS or whatever. Anyway, he wrote articles criticizing bucks. Of course, we ourselves did, but still, there was another columnist called I don't know how you pronounce this, Purba.
I don't know, Purba.
Purba or I don't know. She wrote a few articles for us, the Unreal Times, and she is. I think I can safely say that she is not a right winger of any sort. So yeah, there were. I mean, so like that, people did. There were people who existed who were on, who were and who still are on good terms with us. That is the others in the Unreal Times, Karthik and myself and so on. But as far as this group of stand-up comedians and others go, I don't think there is any sort of discussion or any correspondence with them of any sort.
It's interesting.
So it's mostly exclusive. It's mutually exclusive as far as I see it.
Yeah, because if you analyze the global scene, right, of stand-up comedy, it's actually not a lot like that. If you look at stand-up comedy, let's say in America, so I'll give you a very tangible example. I'll give you names. Let's say Nick DiPaolo. He's a very open Republican stand-up comic, very open about it. Like he will be going everywhere. He talks openly about in his Republican values. Like you have a Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is libertarian, and then probably you will have someone like a Jimmy Dore who will be an extreme Green Party, like a total kooky left winger, but they'll be on good terms. Like they will go on common places, they will crack jokes, they will actually pimp each other out too in a way. They'll promote each other's work, because for them, like the family of satirists or humor or comedy is one. They're like this one big group. It's okay, we can have our political disagreements. Like a Sarah Silverman will not go against a lot of them, although it's changing now. With some of them, I see Amy Schumer, Sarah Silverman now are dumping on Republican comics over there. But overall, if you look at the scene in America, it's not that rough. But like from what I understand to you, it's very tribal in India. Like nobody's talking to each other and everybody.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. I won't say there is any animosity or anything like that, because I really don't know. There has never been any attempt to talk and get along, or there's never been any attempt to have a discussion. So I can't say for sure whether it's animosity or I don't know. It's just that once, I guess, if at all we start talking or having a discussion, maybe a good bond might develop. You never know. But as of now, that's the thing. Stand-up comedy, of course, it's pretty much like an exclusive. It's okay. Those who are left, I wouldn't say left again. Those who call themselves liberals and so on, they are there. You hardly find. The only non-left, if I have to use, stand-up comedian I have seen is Nitin Rivaldo.
I was just going to say Nitin Rivaldo, and we'll have to ask Nitin how has been.
Exactly, he should be able to provide a much better answer than mine. I think my answer might be more muddled than anything Manish Tiwari says in press conferences, so might not make any sense. But yeah, like I said, at least with those who write parody online, there is hardly any interaction, at least as far as I say. But here's the thing: it's not with left, not okay. Those who call themselves liberal, with that group of satirists, there is hardly any interaction. But I am on good terms with many people who are people in the sense general, journalists and so on, who are anti-Modi. I'm on good terms with them. I mean, many of them haven't blocked me. Many of them still continue to follow me, and we do interact once in a while. So there is a good equation there. But like I said, with respect, when it comes to satirists, there has hardly been any interaction. So I guess only if there is some interaction that happens, I can actually say how it is and what the equation is like.
Okay, so then a follow-up to that would be, what do you think is the state of freedom of speech in India? Now, I don't mean to bring this down to just the Modi government before anybody starts, getting all anxious. It's about a trend. Like when I ask you what is the state of free speech, I'm talking about, let's say, we consider the last 15 years, say from Vajpayee onwards, or we look at the UPA 1, UPA 2, and this is NDA 2. Last 15, last almost 15 years. What do you think? Like, I'll give you where I stand. Like, for the sake of clarity and openness, like I believe free speech in India is becoming worse every day. Like the status of free speech, and it has nothing to do with one particular outfit. It's just that the whole way the political structure is centered in India, it's all about appeasing the loudest minority. So whether it's a BJP in power or whether it's a Congress in power, the group changes and the setup changes. But anyone who shouts the loudest and feels offended the loudest basically gets their voice heard, is the general term. Yeah, Hinduism does not get the same special privileges that every other religion gets in India. So in religion, we have that asymmetry. But other than that, I think freedom of speech in India is actually not in a very good state. Let's say comparing probably in the 90s. I think in the 90s, you could get away with a lot more satire and critique than probably today. Even if you look at our cinema, I think our cinema today is far more filtered than probably the cinema was in the early days. I mean, at least, but that's when I used to watch movies. I've stopped watching movies in the last 10 years. So my experience is only before 2010. That's what I'm saying. So what is your view?
Okay. Yeah, first of all, coming to religion, I'm sorry, I might not speak much about religion because anything I say could be used against me. So I won't comment much on religion. Okay, that is one thing. Uh, Coming to, yeah, the state of free speech, there is one good side and one bad side. The good thing is social media, of course. It's got to be the single biggest revolution of this century, at least so far, because everyone now has a platform to voice their views and so on. That way you have that way it's a big boost for the freedom of speech and expression. There's no two ways about it. The bad side is that some of the archaic laws and laws which are too vague, they are still around. One classic example is 66A, right? Of course, now the Supreme Court has struck it down, right? Yeah. So, of course, the Congress party, at least as far as I've seen, didn't have any intention of getting it scrapped,
No.
nor did the BJP.
Yeah.
Because please correct me if I'm wrong, okay? So, as far as I've read, they did not oppose it. And finally, when the court gave its verdict, I think Ravi Shankar Prasad, he said that we are thankful, we've always wanted freedom of expression or something like that. I think something like that happened. Oh, no. I think that was for Aadhaar, I guess. Correct. Something else. Okay, anyway, that was their attitude. Okay, so again, the thing is, these kind of laws still exist. One was 66A, which thankfully the Supreme Court scrapped, but there is still 295A.
Yeah.
And it's not just about religion. It's that vague term, hurt sentiments. That is pretty much got to be the vaguest term. Is there a word called vaguest? Okay, most vague term around. I think I'm getting carried away by Ashutosh because I'm sentimental. Sorry. Yeah, so this phrase, hurt sentiments, has got to be one of the most vague terms around. And that is what can be so easily misused. It's not just religion. Let's say you have a spiritual leader or some who's not necessarily into religion and all. Let's just say you have some spiritual leader. You post something against him. One of his followers, if he or she gets offended, they can just put a complaint saying, this guy hurt my sentiments. So things like this are still the biggest impediments to free speech and it's not about one party, like you said. The law is, phrases like these which exist are open to misuse from and by anybody. Anyone can misuse these phrases and use it to their advantage, right? So it's not just about Congress or BJP because, okay, even if the BJP hasn't done anything like imposing the emergency and all that, what is stopping them from getting rid of these sections, right? You have this government in power for 4 years. What is stopping them from, if not getting rid of, at least amending and removing these vague phrases like hurt sentiments? So go ahead.
So even with the First Amendment, right, there is written that, you have freedom of speech with reasonable restrictions. Now, the first thing I would ask any court to define was, please, or any parliamentary legislative assembly to define for me is define reasonable restrictions. Like, what is reasonable? I don't know what is reasonable.
Exactly. 66A itself, which got scrapped, right? That itself, the phrases it had were, content that is grossly offensive and of menacing character. What does this mean? What is grossly offensive? What has menacing character? Nobody knows. So, like I said, my opinion is you either get rid of the law, or if there is something that really needs to be there, have a proper discussion on it and, refine it properly and have it. That is my take on this. Like when you say reasonable restrictions. Yeah, well, one example was, threats to kill and some things like that. Threats to, calling for the assassination of someone. Okay, things like those are fine. Reasonable restrictions under freedom of speech. But, posting a joke on someone or, things like that, they shouldn't be, they should be insulated from this. That's what.
Yeah, but here's the problem. Who's going to do that? The biggest problem I see.
Exactly. See, that's the thing. Like I said, every party is, at least my opinion, the way I see it is, every party wants these sections to be around so that they can use it whenever they want to their advantage, to silence a voice or whatever.
But
because if a party really believed in, full freedom of, not full but nearly full freedom of speech, they would have, the least they could have done is get rid of these vague phrases and amend them more and have more meaningful and more, precise phrases there to indicate what the law really is for.
yeah, but this is where it annoys me, and this is my grouse with the BJP and all the active and
Yes.
supporters of the BJP.
Yeah, like I said, all parties are in this. There is no party which is, the sole reason for this or anything. I mean, okay, fine. You might have had the, the folks from the Congress like Kapil Sibal. I think he only brought the 66A Act, if I'm not wrong. Fine, you might have people like him to blame. But again, if the BJP is not really doing anything to get rid of those acts or, amend those acts, then they are, they are not on a high horse.
Yeah, and the biggest problem is, like, my whole point is, okay, let's assume the BJP is not doing it. Why aren't BJP supporters talking about it? That's what bothers me. Like, I'm a BJP
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
I share my voting choices very openly. Yeah, I vote for BJP. It's not a crime. I mean, as long as they're a legitimate political outfit in India, I'm allowed to vote for them. And I will openly talk about it. My biggest grouse with BJP supporters online is that they have not understood the value for free speech in India. Like, my take on free speech is very clear. The American way is the best way. That other than a direct call to violence, you allow everything else, including hate speech, because it's okay. I rather have that hateful bigot talking very openly, so that I know who that person is and I can avoid him like a plague, or her like a plague. So that's my way of dealing with it, and I think the American way is the most sane way. Now in India, you can make a fun about, like,
again, I think even in the US they do have laws for libel and all that, right? So they are still allowed to
lie about someone, right? Ashwin, now I can't.
Right.
Ashwin said so and so when there is no proof. So the burden of proof is on me. So you can go after me in that sense. But
exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Those can still be around, but my main grouse is with like all these vague phrases, which are easily prone to misuse.
Yeah, so
at the very least, at the very least, as a first step, in my opinion, that should go.
You not only do you have 295A, you have 153A, and then you have a weirdly worded amendment to the the First Amendment, and basically anybody can do anything with it. And believe me, I just read a report of the Law Commission on hate speech, and I keep on tweeting about it too. No, I think I must be the only useless fellow who has read that report. Actually, it is a 53-page report. Believe me, if they get that is the direction this government or any future government is going to go, everybody on Twitter beware, because they can make anything into hate speech. Because how do you find the damn thing? What is hate speech? Like, tomorrow I might say I hate ice cream. Is that hate speech? Because I'm talking about hatred. So it's a very dangerous direction, and that's why and why I discuss this with people who are satirists, or at least who are in the business of critiquing some aspect of their society, is that God damn it, it's for your own good. And maybe as of now in India, I mean, in your case, obviously it was not your full-time profession, you were doing it as a passion. But what I find disappointing is there are comics, or there are professional people who actually make money out of this thing. It's like that is their livelihood, and why would they not talk about it? I mean, I can tell you, I won't take names, but even left-wing comics, if you talk to them via Twitter on DM privately, and then you tell them, why don't you guys form a consortium and go to the courts and fight a case to remove 295? They're like, we are not Maharathis, and we are not Yodhas. I'm like, I'm sorry, then don't talk about how bad the society is becoming. You have no business doing that too. Then on the one hand, you don't have the guts to do anything about it, and I guess I'm the only moron who keeps crying about laws in India and nobody does it. But how do you work around that? Like, people with skin in the game also don't want to do it. How do you deal with that situation then?
See, I think good question. Let me think. So I think first of all there needs. okay, I don't know, I could be wrong here, but this is just what I feel off the top of my head. There should be a political push for that, first of all. Let's say if someone from the BJP, for example, gets a private member bill or whatever. I mean, I'm not too well versed with the constitution. So let's say someone from the BJP initiates this campaign of trying to get rid of 295A. More and more, it'll gain steam for sure. More and more people will join in, and it'll become a big sort of campaign. So I think it requires someone influential to do that push. I think people don't want to start something on their own, I guess, for whatever reason. I don't know. So
I just think it takes a lot of effort. Like, I know I've spoken to Jai Sai Deepak. I think Jai Sai Deepak and the Indic Collective is eventually going to take up the case against 295A. They want 295A to be removed. Like, I'll be very honest and open. I'm an atheist, so I want to criticize religion, and some religions more than other religions. I will be even more open about that. But because of this silly law, I think sometimes I cannot talk and express myself. And I'm not saying I need to abuse. I don't want to abuse. In fact, I don't like abuse. But there has to be critique of religion. Otherwise, societies don't change, and you have archaic situations.
Point.
And I mean, come on, give me a break. Without taking names of religions too. I mean, I want to criticize Islam. Why can't I criticize Islam in India? It's ridiculous. I mean, it's like, Islam is like that Voldemort in what was that? Harry Potter. Nobody would take their name. It is like the Voldemort effect. I think Majid Nawaz calls it the Voldemort effect. Somebody who would not be spoken of. So they would never take Voldemort's name directly. They would talk about he who is going to scare you, or he is going to do that. It is there was so much fear, and I don't want to talk about it. It's like that, and I'm sorry if you want, like. I know a lot of comics. Like, I know comics in India, and I'll give you an example. Russell Peters, he's an international comic. He will never crack a joke about religion. That's okay. That's self-censorship. I want to. Why do you not allow me to do that?
Again, so like Russell Peters, right? Religion was something even we, when the Unreal Times was up, we steered clear of it. Because people in general, of course, in India, they're too touchy about it. And I'm not saying one particular religion here, and I really don't want to get into that, which religion can be more easily criticized and so on. But you're right. I do get your point that religion ideally should be criticized. I mean, you should not, there should be nothing stopping you from, it's like this. You either treat you either allow criticism of all religions or don't allow anything. But that's right now, as far as I see it, there is a skew. There
will always be a skew in India, because Hindus are not going to take their religion so seriously. I'll be as candid as possible with you. Hindus are never going to take their religion seriously. People will always get away with criticism of Hinduism. On a scale of 1 to 10, you can get away at a 8.9 level with the criticism of religion when it comes to Hinduism. On Christianity, probably 5. They'll sue you and try to throw you in jail. And on Islam, they might try to behead you. And I say this with full responsibility. And these are my words. These are not the words of Ashwin. So anybody who says that, please don't attribute these words to Ashwin. This is Kushalmehra using these words.
Right.
Yeah, so it's okay.
Yeah, like I said, I am sort of steering clear. I've never been, comfortable discussing religion in public. So
I get it, but
again, partly some of these laws and clauses are to blame. Partly.
Yeah, I guess one day I'm going to go in jail, and maybe then they'll probably scrap the law. I guess that's going to happen someday, maybe. So now, second point. This is somewhere I have been slightly let down in the last few years. Indian comedy and satire would never have this problem. I would never see politicians being so sensitive to satire. Like, if you remember, Shekhar Suman would, mimic Lalu Prasad Yadav, if you remember Movers and Shakers. And there's always been a very healthy critique of politicians, and politicians have historically taken satire very, very nicely. But recently there was a news of, some guy was just picked off social media by the police and for making fun of, I think it was the Karnataka Chief Minister Kumaraswamy.
I did read the news about it.
Yeah, so I felt very sad because that was very unlike India. We love making fun of our politicians. Now, my question to you is, have you guys ever in your history as Unreal Times, and I asked this to Karthik too, by the way, when Karthik had come on my podcast, I had asked the same question. So I wanted to know your experience. Have you guys, or you personally, have you ever faced it? Because your whole humor was basically making fun of political figures. That's all your humor was. Was there ever any kind of pushback you guys faced from politicians because you guys really made fun of them?
No. So as far as I personally am concerned, no, I have been fortunate enough never to have received any threats or pushback or anything of that sort. On the contrary, though some politicians who've read my cartoons have only liked them by the grace of God. So yeah, like Subramanian Swamy and even Shashi Tharoor, for example.
Wow.
So personally, I have never faced any threats, fortunately. But yeah, this was well known. Before the time before I started writing for the Unreal Times, Karthik and Krishna, they had made this Manmohan Singham parody video of that time the Singham movie trailer was out, and Karthik and Krishna made that. So that, I think, they had some complaints filed from Congress workers. I don't know which cyber cell it was. Nothing happened to that eventually, but yeah, that did happen. So there were news reports of complaints being filed. So that was there. And another thing was, I think for one of the Facebook walls which Karthik made, I think there was a message from the office of, not the office, or I think from Abhishek Manu Singhvi's lawyer about the Facebook wall, which one of the Facebook walls which Karthik had done. But that, again, nothing came of it. So these were the only two instances, I think, where the Unreal Times got, like a pushback, if you want to call it that. But apart from these, people have more or less pretty much enjoyed whatever we've done, even if the joke is on them. Okay, like even surprisingly, NDTV, for example, we've done a lot of jokes on NDTV, and when we shut down, I think it was quite nice of Vikram Chandra. He said, "We'll miss your." He said that the tweet is still there. He said something like, "We'll miss your humor, and especially the jokes that were on us." So yeah, we've been quite fortunate. Even people who are so-called liberals and who considered Unreal Times to be a Sangi satire factory or whatever. So even most of them, fortunately, even they've admired whatever we've written. So yeah.
So it's very interesting that you say you've never faced that problem, but
I have never. But the closest I think the closest which has come to that is, I think we had a little bit of hesitation when we had to make fun of Ms. Jayalalitha when she was the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, because that again was a tricky thing. Even when media houses were reporting things against her, there were a lot of defamation cases filed against them and so on. So at least, if not, I don't know about the others. I can't speak for the Unreal Times team here, but at least I was personally a bit hesitant to write anything about Ms. Jayalalitha.
Okay, I think again,
but that again, it was my personal, fear, if you can call it that. I haven't received any direct threat or whatever.
Okay, but I think with Ms. Jayalalitha also, it is like a quasi-religious cult only. So I think it has a major religious element to it. So any kind of a feudal structure, in my view, it becomes quasi-religious. But here's the thing: what is your take on this? Sometimes I feel more than politicians, it is their followers, or I hate to use the word, their bhakts. And there are Congress bhakts and there are BJP bhakts and there are bhakts of individual leaders. I think
Ashutosh Bhakt.
Yeah. So I find sometimes the politician won't even give a damn about it, but the push as such comes from the followers who are more offended than the one who's being made fun of. So, and I think that becomes bad. But again, I'll tell you, this new development, and somebody is actually on the live chat has made a very valid point.
Oh, really? I have not been following the comments. Okay, let me just go to...
That person has, I don't know the handle, Goku DBZ,
Mm-hmm.
made a very valid point that, that all these lefty comedians want Republic TV shut down. How do they stand for freedom of expression? This is a very important point.
Right.
Thank you for
absolutely.
So, this is why I have these live chats. Sometimes people make these points and I was completely blanked out. Now,
Right.
here's the case that people should be standing for free speech, but they want a channel to be shut down because that channel does not spew their point of view. And these idiots don't realize that if the government today, you give the government the authority of shutting a channel down, tomorrow that government can shut the channel that makes your
Right.
point of view down. I mean,
Absolutely.
how idiotic can they be? So how do we deal with this idiotism?
No, I think, of course, they are well within their rights to express whatever they want. And I mean, likewise, people are within their rights to call out their hypocrisy. And that's the way it is. So, I mean, it's whether, I mean, no matter what kind of a chorus they put out, the hypocrisy is quite obvious. And I mean, people can see through them, basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's stupid. I mean, I don't know how to put it across, but there is one thing that you hit an axe on your leg, and there is another thing that you go to the store, buy the axe, remove the box, and then start jumping on it. This, for a comedian to actually demand a channel to be shut down, or let us take the example from today. I think somebody has mentioned this. Good, the Pondicherry Lit Fest. Some left-wing groups want the Pondicherry Lit Fest to be shut down for lack. And guess what? One of the reasons I remember they gave was there was a lack of diversity of views. Oh wow! Have you been to the Jaipur Literary Festival?
Yes, I mean there are this. I mean, this is not the only instance. Like I said, there are hundreds of instances you'll find like this where there is hypocrisy.
So I guess this answers the state of free speech in India is because the people who should be at the forefront for the battle of free speech, which is the satirists, the comics, the actors on TV, the news media personalities, the journalists, because they have become so tribal themselves and they have forgotten principles and they basically take principles. And this is where I love Rahul's bio on Twitter. He says I'm
establishment is
as
the bio, okay, not the print, okay,
as any mainstream media journalist in India. So what Rahul always says is that I am not like this in personal life, but I will always imitate them and I will keep on making them, remember that I'm exactly like you. It's just that I'm shouting on a different issue. And I get where Rahul comes from. But again, then all we have in a scenario like this is, let's say, we follow Rahul's strategy. But in that case, what we get is a status quo. Free speech gets destroyed daily. More and more things become unpalatable and unspeakable. Then where do we go from it? It's all downhill. That's what I'm saying. So in your view, what could be the possible solution? How do we break this ice with the other side, with the left wing? And we tell them, hang on, guys, time out. Like you said, time out. This is not working well for either of us. How do you think we break that ice? What would be the method? That's my key question.
See, I think the first, I think we'll have to face the reality that there can never be 100% peace between both the sides. Okay, that is never going to happen. I think the first thing we could start is identify who is actually open to, listening to other points of view from both the sides. And then let them have a discussion and, see, every year, both the wings are growing, right? So you have more and more youngsters who are now more politically active and, they are following politics actively and they make their own choices based on whatever, their own biases and, whatever they see, whatever they read and so on. As far as my opinion goes, I think, so the first thing is, in the existing, sort of wings, if you want to call them call it that, identify those who are actually, open to other points of view, discussing and debating other points of view. Get that group, have a discussion there, and then, this group should ideally actually, reach out to more and more youngsters and sort of make open debates a trend, as in not just like, shutting the other side out and things like that. It's as simple as that. Hear both sides. Let people make up their minds based on what they hear. Let them make an informed choice. That's it. So, but like I said, on both sides, there will still be people who are totally not flexible. So that is something you can't do anything about.
I was thinking of doing something like this. So give me your view. What's your personal take on this? A few days ago, I had tweeted about this. I wanted to start a series of conversations, which I'm going to call engaging with the other side. Now, the other side could be the political other side. It could be, in my case, the religious side, and anything basically. It could be any kind of issue. So I'm going to start to do that. I'm going to try and pick people who, let's say, claim to be left of center or left leaning or whatever, and I'm going to try and talk to them and try and build this coalition of divergent people from different sets of society, where we come together and we push whosoever the government in power is. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Give us our right to speak. Do you think that makes sense?
Yeah, awesome. That's a good idea. That's a good start.
Yeah. So I guess, okay, somebody has asked me a question, but I think it could be anything. What do you think about the Alex Jones purge? Yeah, Alex Jones is not my rishtedar, so I honestly don't care if you ask my honest answer. Well, Alex Jones should not be purged. I think it's a ridiculous idea. Again, I could ask this question to Ashwin as a larger question. Ashwin, what do you think about tech companies, tech giants like YouTube, Twitter, Facebook now selectively targeting certain opinions that don't suit their worldview? Do you think that's a worry? Because in India, at least, the non-left has only been open on social media. So what do you think? Is this a cause for worry for the entire non-left, which basically became resurgent only thanks to social media?
Yes, of course it is. It's definitely a cause for worry. I mean, I think I'm hearing my own voice. Hold on. Hello? Yeah. Yeah, so now it's better now.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was going to say that we saw I hate to say it's biased. I want to believe that Twitter is not biased, but you know what? The happenings always seem to suggest otherwise. We had this blue tick phenomenon, right? Mm-hmm. So when Twitter started giving out, at least in India, when they started giving out blue ticks to many people, those who were against the present government seemed to get blue ticks more often, like within a day and almost immediately and so on. For a while, this was the case. Those who weren't, those who didn't toe the liberal line, they weren't getting blue ticks so soon. Only recently, I think maybe a year ago, just before that, a lot of so-called right-wing handles also began to get the blue ticks. So there itself, there was a bit of a skew which was worrying. And then now, when it comes to the fact that, they're trying to, of course, I really hope they don't, because Facebook and Twitter should ideally be the platforms for free speech. But if it is happening, then it's definitely a cause for worry. Because every view should be heard, or if you're applying a certain set of standards for taking down content that doesn't suit your standards, there should be no bias there, of course.
Yeah, because
you either take one, you don't take any offensive posts down, or you take all of them down. That doesn't seem to be happening right now, at least as far as I have seen.
Yeah, with the Facebook, the algorithms are very funny. I read a Gizmodo article. It was the specific case with this American comedian, Steven Crowder. And they were saying Steven Crowder, he was like all over the place, and they were not showing his content openly. And then they actually got hold of a Facebook insider that said, there was a team of people actually looking at his content and, putting him down and not letting his content shine, which is very dangerous, because
yes.
Or the only final solution is actually another platform where people literally go. Like, I'll give you another example. So they would not get space in mainstream media, so they went on Patreon. I don't know if you know about this platform, Patreon. Patreon is basically a crowdfunding platform.
Okay.
So what happens via Patreon is that you can create content. Let's say I'm a YouTube content creator, right? So I go on YouTube and I tell them, okay, here's my content. It's absolutely free for you. If you like my content, go on Patreon and voluntarily pay for my content. So you could pay $1 a month up to, $1,000 a month. It depends on your choice. And there are people like Jordan Peterson who are making $80,000 a month on Patreon.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Like Dave Rubin, I think, is around $30,000 or something like that. So there are a variety of people. But now what Patreon has started to do is Patreon has also started becoming selective. So I remember a while ago, they removed this woman called Lauren Southern. Today, I read a tweet on Twitter about Robert Spencer or whatever his name is. He writes all the time about Islam and critiques Islam, I think. But the thing is that everywhere a voice which is not, quote unquote, the right voice, or right as in not right wing, the correct voice, it gets deplatformed even on these places. And if that happens, long story short, we're screwed.
Yeah, definitely. It is worrying. Yes, absolutely.
I guess, let me see. Okay. Somebody has asked.
If I open the YouTube video as well, I think I hear a double voice, so I just closed it. So to all those who've commented, if you have any questions for me, I'll reply to them later after this chat.
So that's what we're going to do. If you're hearing a double voice, it's
sure.
Okay. Here's the thing, guys. If you have any questions to Ashwin, just tweet at him. His handle is at Ashwin S. Kumar.
Sure.
And I've mentioned his handle in the description of the podcast too, so you guys can go and answer. There were a couple of people who asked me, would I be happy to engage with Radhika Vaz and Kunal Kamra? Yeah, tell them to talk to me. I'll be more than happy to talk to them. I will speak with anyone other than Kavita Krishnan. That person I don't understand. So if you want an honest answer, there is an honest answer. Other than Kavita Krishnan, I'm willing to talk to anyone. And I'm not saying I dislike Kavita Krishnan. I don't know her, but I don't know, whatever I've seen on Twitter, I've been turned off. Kunal Kamra, no problem. If you guys can convince Kunal Kamran to come and talk to me, I'll be more than happy. Now, the last question. I specifically kept this question for the end of the podcast. Can you explain to me what the hell is #Big Boss Malayalam?
Those tweets are much better than many of the tweets you see around, right? Come on, they're not so bad. When you see all the fighting that's going on, these tweets are still good, right? Anyway, I mean, for the longest time, I've never watched Big Boss. Okay, so what happened this year is they started Big Boss Malayalam for the first time. This is the first, season of Big Boss Malayalam, and my wife is from Kerala. So one fine day, I mean, we just got the TV and we just turned the TV on, and we're like, okay, first episode, chalo, dekhte hain, let's see how it is. Okay, let's see tomorrow as well. Let's see one more day. It went on. And then it just became the best form of time pass, okay? So you have a hectic day at office, you come home, you want to relax. For 1.5 hours, you just shut your brains off and watch it. It's relaxing, basically. It's de-stressing. That's all it is.
So here's the thing. Now, somebody has actually taken your Javdekar for PM seriously. And they have asked this question. I can't believe this. Somebody has said, why Javdekar for PM? What is the thing that distinguishes him from other hopefuls? Now, Ashwin, tell me, answer that.
No, there are other contenders as well. He's not alone.
I can't believe it. Somebody actually took the Javdekar for PM # seriously. See, I told you, and anything and everything is possible on Twitter. But I'll say one thing about Big Boss Malayalam and the Big Boss concept in general. I don't know how these buggers manage to stay on Big Boss, because you're not allowed to have a cell phone, laptop, or anything inside the Big Boss house, right?
Right. I mean, first of all, you still don't know if it's all real or if it's scripted, or I don't know. So but it's good entertainment again. So that's the main reason I watch it.
So if there was ever someone whom do you think Ashutosh should now go to the Big Boss house now that he's?
Oh yes, of course. He should. I want to see him, man. I want to see Mogu as well inside. Even Chotu, maybe.
Yeah,
Mogu. It'll be fun to watch him there.
Yeah, and from inside the Big Boss house, they will say Modi should resign.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So I guess we've touched the 1 hour mark, man. See, I told you 1 hour goes by and you'll not even know when it went by.
I do hope I've managed to make more sense than, say, Manish Tiwari or Shashi Tharoor or anyone who speaks English in press conferences. So I do hope I managed to make more sense than them. Let's see.
Yeah. So once again, man, thanks a lot for doing this. I really wanted to talk to you because I think you are one of the very few people who are the reason that I came on Twitter. And I always say there is a special place if there is a Swarg or a heaven or whatever. People who make others laugh. So for guys like you, Karthik, Rahul, and all those people who make us laugh. On behalf of
Which
everyone,
Rahul are you referring to? Be specific.
yeah, Rahul Roshan. No, Rahul Gandhi too. I'm sorry, Rahul Gandhi will also, because he's also made us laugh. So please be fair to Rahul Gandhi. He makes us laugh on a daily basis too.
Sure.
So for all you guys, there is a special place reserved because so many people. We have our stresses in our daily life, and you guys make us laugh. So on behalf of all of them, I would like to say thanks a lot, buddy.
I must thank you, first of all, and of course the viewers as well. Yeah, I hardly ever thought someone would actually be interested in talking to me of all people, and that too for an hour. So thank you. I must thank you. It's a great pleasure and privilege, of course. Thank you.
All right, buddy. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. See you. Bye, everyone.